Good afternoon. It's time to call to order the June 27th, 2017 meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. First item, well, before we get to that, we're going to have a little bit of a change in the process. Any citizen from now on wishing to be heard at the Economic Trust meeting will be asked to fill out, if you wouldn't mind, a form requesting such an opportunity, and then hand it to Regina as she sits over there. Would you wave? Okay, and we'll take care of it at the appropriate time. So that's a little change in the process. With that being said, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 16th, 2017 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next is to ratify the OCEDT claims.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next is items for individual consideration. And Eric, I think you're going to take the first several of these. So if you come forward, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll begin with the first item. This is item number 4A, and this is an amendment 2 and a change order 3 to a Project 180 pedestrian plaza project. So progress has been very good on this project, and you've seen some of the external features. The internal features are just about completed, and the entire project's expected to be opened in July. So we're about a month away from hopefully being able to open this to the public. This amendment 2 and change order 3 is $21,573. It also adds 60 days to the contract completion. There were a number of items that were changed with some of the raised planters, updated waterproofing around a lot of the buildings that are right there in that park. There's some paver changes, and then there was a change in the screen wall height, something that you'll see once in the park, from 6 feet to 8 feet. So we're recommending approval.
We have a recommendation for approval. We have a motion. Second. Any questions or comments? And it is so approved. Item B.
Item B is approving addenda 1 and 2 for the final streetscape package 8 for Project 180. You'll note in the memo that this is predominantly Broadway Avenue, Main to Kerr, Main, Broadway to Robinson, and Robert S. Kerr from Walker to Hudson. Now, what's being recommended is the base bid in the first 2 alternates. There are actually 5 alternates that were bid. One of the items that this contract also anticipates is that we're going to use a lot of the unit prices that were received in this to do other various work in downtown. So although we mentioned these primary locations, different levels of work are going to be completed at each. So these aren't these complete tear-outs and complete replacements like we've experienced in the previous packages. The idea is to maintain a lot of the existing landscaping, some of the curbs and the medians, especially the larger trees that are already on Broadway, to save those. And so it's a $2.9 million contract. It's to ATEC. The schedule is to begin in July, finish in February. And again, we're recommending approval to proceed.
Thank you, Eric. Now, there was given out an amended item here. Does everybody have a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. And so what we'll be asking you to do is to vote on the amendment. And that's all we have to do?
And then we'll vote on the item as amended.
Okay. Can I hear a motion to vote on the amendment?
I move to amend the item.
Thank you, sir. Second. Please cast your votes. And it's so done. And now the item itself.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please cast your votes. And it's so done. Item C.
Item C is ratifying and approving addenda 1 and awarding contract to Rudy Construction for the public portion of the Red Andrews Park improvements. You might recall in a previous presentation, there's both public and private work that's anticipated at this park. This is the public portion. It's a large portion of this is the 2007 general obligation bonds. Also includes other funding as well. The bids were received, $354,000. We're anticipating starting the work a little bit later this month. Generally speaking, this is the demolition of portions of the site, replacement of the parking, things that are located on the north side of the site. The private portion will actually do a lot of the lighting, the landscaping, and some of the other decorative features. So that is not being managed by the city, but again, being managed privately. Can answer any questions in recommending approval.
Move the item.
A motion is second. Any comments or questions? Please cast your votes. It is so done. Item D.
Final item I have for you this afternoon is item D, which is the renewal of a joint contract between the city and Rudy Construction for the Project 180 streetscape components. This would be anything from some of the striping, the landscaping, all of those various items that sometimes come in need of repair. So this is a unit price-based contract for us to do those for this next fiscal year. You'll notice that the item has been budgeted not to exceed $1 million, but again, that is based on available funds. And so it's possible we would do work in a lesser amount, but those amounts would be approved for specific areas that are requiring attention. But this will allow us to have a contractor more or less on call to do that without us having to do individual bids.
Move approval.
Question, Eric, on the write-up that was given to us in our packet, the location was indicated as citywide.
So it has the opportunity to be used citywide, but it is more focused towards Project 180.
So
I
it
don't-
can be used anywhere in the city.
We perhaps could, yes. But again, I think what we'll see is that it's a lot of the Project 180 style features. And so if we do find some other areas, for example, Film Row isn't specifically Project 180, but Film Row has a lot of the same features of Project 180 with the striping and the lighting. We might perhaps use it to do that. We're also seeing the expansion of, say, the police headquarters and the municipal courts, also using a lot of the P180 features, although they're not specific to P180. So the idea is those that adopt the P180 standard, we could use this contractor if we needed to.
Thank you, sir. We had a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so exercised. Thank you, sir. Brent.
Yes, sir. On items E and F, these are amendments to the Forestry Department Economic Development Agreements, and these pertain to the minimum tax payments. As you'll recall, with our TIF projects, we require developers to pay a minimum tax, and as a result of our audit over a year ago, we went back and have tried to amend some contracts, and this one's been a little late in getting back to us from the developer, but what we're trying to do here is amending the contract to clarify that when the county sends out a bill to them, if it does not meet the minimum tax, they're required to send us the difference between what the minimum tax is and what the county has assessed them at. So that's what we're doing with item E on item F. We're actually accepting the deeds of covenants that the developer has to sign regarding the minimum tax, because regarding the phase 2, we have not provided the funding to them yet, and this is one of the requirements. They have to execute these, and the trust needs to accept them along with the city council before we can pay them. So that's what item E and F are related to.
Let's focus on item E.
Do we envision not making deadlines going forward?
No, this is just one. This is a complex project in the fact that the financing for these two projects is guaranteed by HUD, and these covenants that we provided, they had to go back through HUD, and that's what took so long. That's why we took them together, and it was, I'm not trying to throw HUD under the bus, but it was just a difficult time to get them comfortable with these covenant requirements and the subordination requirements of our agreements.
Okay, thank you.
Did I surmise from you, the way you asked the question, that you really would appreciate it not being late in the future?
Yes, sir, you did.
Noted.
You so noted. Any further comments or questions about item E? We have a motion to approve. Second. Please cast your votes. And item E is approved. Now moving on to item F.
Item F is just phase 2 for the 4th Street projects. This one actually has the amendment, then it also has the acceptance of the new covenants.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Please cast your votes. And it's so done. Item G.
Today we have a memorandum of agreement with the Northeast First National LLP for the First National Garage. We have with us today Rob Garrett, representative of Cornerstone, along with Craig Cunningham, which is one of their financial advisors, along with Frank Heel. And I'd like to recognize first Rob Garrett. He has a presentation for you.
Thanks, Brent. Thank you all for your time today. Mr. Brooks regrets he couldn't be here today. He's actually in Dallas working with the architects on this project. So He sends his regards. Most of y'all probably know First National. We put the building under contract January 11th of 2016. Spent about $2 million on due diligence just to ensure that the building could handle what we wanted it to handle. Exactly a year later, actually, on January 11th, 2017, despite what others said, that this would be the most complicated project in the history of the city, and it's proven to be that way, we closed on the building. The building will consist of 3 components. In the 1957 and 1972 additions, we will have about a 680-space parking garage with retail on the first floor. Many of you have probably walked through the concourse, and so we will keep that, but we will make that a 2-story concourse, and you'll see in a video in a minute. And then we're looking at the idea of an urban marketplace and doing a business incubator within some of those spaces. The tower itself is built in 1931. That will consist of a hotel, residential apartments, and some food and beverage outlets. The hotel will be 145 keys. Rooms will run from the 3rd floor to the 8th floor with an amenity floor in there. The building's set up great because we have 2 elevator banks. One serves the residential, one serves the hotel. It will have common area space, food and beverage outlets. Obviously, many of you have been in the Great Hall, so we'll restore that area. That'll be common area space. We'll have a restaurant in the basement. We'll have bars off the Great Hall, cafe off the Great Hall, a museum, and then on 31 and 32, we will actually do a rooftop bar and private club up there. So, and then the residents, right now, we're looking at just under 200 residential units, and that will run from floors 9 through 30. The square feet, they'll run from somewhere between 500 square feet to 2,300 square feet, like I said, from floors 9 to 30. And if we have time, I think just a quick, about 3-minute video. This is something the architects put together for us with some renderings. Does anybody have any questions? I know I ran through that at a very high level pretty quickly. Yes, ma'am.
Seagulls?
Yeah, we heard that earlier when we were playing it, so we might want to work on that. Yeah.
Okay. Have you landed on the name for the hotel as the National?
Right now, that's what we're thinking.
Okay. Got to, kind of clever.
You ready for another naming contest?
No. Timing?
From start to finish, the entire project will take about 3 years. Those 36 months from about
Is
right
that for
now.
the 3 phases or just for the garage?
That's for the 3 phases. The garage, we think, will take about 24 months of that, and then about a year later, the residential and the hotel, we anticipate will open.
And the garage, I'm sorry to ask a stupid question, the garage, does it take into account the current garage structure, or is it a whole brand-new garage structure?
No, we'll take into account the current structure. The original intent was to build a new garage, but from a historic standpoint, we weren't able to do that. And so we'll repurpose what's there.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Besides the $15 million or so, will you all be requesting any additional funds from the city of Oklahoma City?
Yeah, there's a possibility that as we approach the hotel closing of that portion, but right now, our focus is on the garage and getting it closed at this point.
Brent?
I will tell you, when the TIF district was created, it has a budget of $45 million, and it's all based on the taxes that the project we thought could generate over a 25-year period. So they're bringing us each individual project, looking at pro formas, seeing what the real need is, and so we're still evaluating the other pieces of the pie, of the pieces of the project.
All right, so will any community block funds be used for this particular development?
I'll let
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Any community block funds will be used, will there be used for this project, meaning Section 108 loan?
Yes, we are
Possibly.
looking at the Section 108 loan for the hotel portion, yes.
So we're talking about 15 million plus whatever additional,
Right, right. So the 15.9 million is just for the garage, and then the HUD 108 is specifically for the hotel portion of this.
And the 108 application has not been finalized yet, or I'm not even, it's in the early stages of evaluation.
Yeah, we've submitted quite a bit of paperwork, and we've just really started that process for the HUD 108.
Brent, the estimated amount of money to do all 3 phases is how much?
Well, the TIF budget right now is $45 million, and it includes $40 million from ad valorem taxes and $5 million from sales tax. When we developed the project plan, we also contemplated applying for the state leverage funds for an additional $5 million. So total would be $50 million that could go towards this project.
what's the overall, nowhere in here does it talk about the overall project cost? So what is the overall project cost?
Yeah, right now, we're at about $225 million overall for all 3 phases.
Okay,
Yeah, about 54 of that is on the garage.
okay, so phase 1 is how much, phase 2?
Yeah, so the garage is really what we would call the first phase, 54 million. The hotel will be about 100 million, and then the residential is about $70 million.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have just a 2-page PowerPoint here, just kind of sum up the deal before you today. This memorandum of agreement supports the developer's financing for the garage construction, but it does not obligate the city or the trust to backstop the private debt. The developer must complete the project, and upon their completion, we anticipate OCDT would borrow funds, whether through a bond issue or a line of credit of some type of facility, and lend those proceeds to the developer, which in turn they would repay this New Markets Tax Credit leverage loan that they need to make this project occur. We're structuring this with the idea that we will refinance the debt within 10 years, and at that point in time, the developer would basically borrow funds and pay off our borrowing. So, and then in addition to that, the next step, the developer needs to close on his loans and begin construction. After that, the TIF allocation process will begin, where we'll formalize and go to the internal TIF advisory group as to how much we would allocate to a project. Then they'll go to the TIF review committee, which would consist of all the taxing jurisdictions, for a recommendation, and then it'll go to the city council for a formal allocation. And then we will bring back an economic development agreement to this body, and then it'll go to the city council. We anticipate doing that probably in the next 90 days, starting the process on that. And then when they finalize the hotel aspect, we'll come back and bring that part of it. Because again, it's the First National, but there's actually 3 components to it. And so we'll have to treat each one differently. So, but they're all part of one big project at the end of the day. So, but from a contractual, there are 3 deals. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Quick question. So we are not upfronting the money on this? They have to perform first and then?
Yes.
And so is that with each phase of the project?
I would anticipate that with the hotel, we'll probably have a similar arrangement that we're seeking here today, where we're not borrowing any money today, they're doing all the borrowing, and then while we have what they call construction risk, that's on the developer to go make that work. And this agreement is what we call a form of is a comfort to the banks in lending them that money.
All right, thank you.
And this is part of what TIF district?
This is part of TIF District number 10.
So remember, we formed a new TIF district just for the First National, and all 3 components go within that district, correct?
Yes, sir.
Like to move approval?
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further questions? Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Next item.
This next item is our annual renewal of our agreements of support. When the Economic Development Trust goes out and borrows funds, the City Council agrees to support the projects, and it's often referred to as a moral obligation, and they do this on an annual basis, and we have to renew these agreements of support on an annual basis, and we have 3 outstanding, we have approximately $29 million worth of debt for TIF District number 2, $3.6 million for TIF number 4, which is the Oklahoma River TIF, and then for TIF District number 8, we have about $124 million worth of outstanding debt there. And this is just an annual routine renewal of the agreements of support. So.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next item. Ms. Kathy, you're doing the next one.
I'm going to handle the next one. This next item is an assignment of the agreement that we have with GE to a new entity that they are creating that is a GE affiliate along with Baker Hughes. They wish to transfer the Oil and Gas Technology Center to this new entity. We believe the new entity has all of the financial wherewithal to carry out the agreement. They do still plan to meet the requirements of the Economic Development Agreement and create jobs. So we'd like to transfer that, assign the agreement.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion to approve. Second. Any comments or questions? Please cast your votes. And the name change is so done. Next item, Ms. Kathy.
The next item is the annual agreement with the Alliance for Economic Development to provide economic development services and programs to the trust and the city. There is no change in the contract amount from the current year. Basically, the scope of work remains the same.
Questions or comments? We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Next item.
The next item is the annual professional services agreement with the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation or the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce to provide economic development services to the city, including helping to market the SIP and manage the applications for the SIP program. This contract does represent a 4% reduction from the current year's agreement to help reflect the city's budget changes over the past year.
Challenges.
Challenges, yeah.
Action from the trust. We have a motion to approve? Second. Please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next item is Kathy.
And then the next item is the agreement with the Myriad Gardens Foundation. Again, this is the annual agreement that the trust enters into with the Myriad Gardens Foundation to manage and operate the Myriad Gardens. Let's see, the overall subsidy is reducing from 46% to 43% of their total funding, so they're continuing on their path to rely less and less on the city's funding. The management subsidy for the coming year is about $1.8 million.
We have a motion? And a second. Any questions or comments? Please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next item.
The next item is the first year that we'll have an agreement with the MAPS Parks Foundation, which is an affiliate organization to the Myriad Gardens Foundation, to manage the new MAPS 3 park. So this initial year funding is $705,600, and it is designed to help them get ready, help with the construction, oversee the construction, and hire staffing and get ready for the opening of the new park.
Okay, and we have an exciting thing coming up, I guess, Thursday this week for the new park.
We do,
we not?
yes. We have a groundbreaking for the new park on Thursday.
So hopefully you all can make it for that.
We'll know the name. May I ask a question?
If you know the name, you can ask a
I
question.
don't know the name. The monies for the Parks Foundation, none of this can be used for the Myriad Gardens, or can it?
No,
There's a specific provision in the main agreement that says no. They're to keep the funds separate. They can exchange equipment on a short-term basis if they need to cover, but the funds are supposed to be used for each park separately and independently. And this particular agreement doesn't contain yet, we know we're working on a lease with for Union Station for space, and that may come back to you later as a slight amendment to this budgeted amount, how to pay for that lease.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Please cast your votes. It is so done. Mr. Brent.
Yes, sir. Item N is our annual budget. It's $161 million for FY 17-18. I wanted to recognize Regina Story for all her hard work and diligence in putting this budget together. She's in her third year working here, and our situation is unique, and we're learning things all the time, and we get to do new things every day. So she's done a great job catching on, and she did a really good job putting this budget together, and I just wanted to recognize her for her efforts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We have a new title up here, cheerleader.
With your approval, this will be sent to the City Council on July 5th, and again, the budget is a plan. It's just our plan and what we anticipate doing for the next fiscal year.
Okay, you've heard the items in budget. We have a motion to approve. And second, please cast your votes. And it is so done. General Manager's report.
don't think there's any major changes to point out. We have had a change in ownership at the Outlet Mall, but we haven't updated this report. It doesn't reflect any changes as of yet, but we have had some very good meetings with the new ownership group, and we're really excited about the future of the mall. So.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody questions? Okay, we need to what, accept it? We don't need to do anything. Okay, we're now to the part for comments from staff. Any staff person would like to make a comment? Seeing none, any trustee with a comment? Seeing none, any citizen who has not turned in their request but still would like to be heard? Seeing none, we are adjourned.